which of today with them is John the Baptist University, Malawi. Welcome to the Honorable Miss Catherine Banda as a lecturer master of social work. As for the topic today is transaction analysis and its application in a workplace. And today's session is being live streamed on the University of STEKOM YouTube channel. And now I will read our agenda this afternoon. First, we will start class presentation delivered by Mr. Catherine. Continue with the Q&A section after our presentation. And in the next session, we have time for documentation, and last time is closing. Okay, let's begin. We will start class presentation delivered by Ms. Catherine. The time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Catherine, the time is yours. You can start the presentation.
Okay. Okay, once again, my name is Catherine Chisomo Banda from DMI St. John the Baptist University, Malawi. My presentation is titled Transactional Analysis and its Application in a Workplace. Transaction analysis is a psychoanalytic theory and a method of therapy developed by Eric Berne during the 1950s. So transactions in this case refers to the communication exchanges between people. So during a conversation with someone, the person is starting the communication will give the transaction stimulus. And then the person receiving this stimulus or the message of communication will give the transaction response. So we are talking of the words that will exchange between two people who are communicating. So transaction analysis is a method that is used to analyze this process of transactions, the process of exchanging the message of communication with others. So it requires us to be aware of how we feel, how we think and behave during interactions with others. So according to Ben, he said that when we are communicating, when we are exchanging these transactions, we are in different states. So he recognized that the human personality is made up of 3 ego states. He called it the ego states. So each of which is an entire system of thought, feeling, and behavior from which we interact with each other. So these the ego states are the parent state, the adult state, and the ego state, the child ego state. And the interaction between them form the foundation of transaction analysis theory. So each one of us is supposed to know the state which we are in, and also we need to understand the state in which the other person is in order to avoid conflicts when we are communicating. So transaction analysts are trained to recognize which ego states people are transacting from. So when we are communicating, if we are able to understand the state in which the other person is in, we can be able to effectively communicate. So the transaction analysts are trained to recognize which ego states people are transacting from and follow the transactional sequences to intervene and improve communication quality and effectiveness. So each one of us are supposed to understand what transaction analysis theory is all about, so that whenever we are communicating with other people, we should understand the state that they are in, and also we should understand the state that we are in to avoid conflict. So this presentation is all about us to understand what transactional analysis is and how do we apply it in a workplace. So this transactional analysis was developed, as I said, by Eric Benz. So Eric Ben's idea for transactional analysis developed from Sigmund Freud, psychoanalytic theory that states that childhood experiences greatly impact our lives as adults and are the basis for the development of our personalities and the psychological or emotional issues that we suffer. Meaning to say, as we are growing up, what we have experienced from childhood, what we have learned from our parents will influence how we communicate or influences our personality. Therefore, we need to understand which state we are supposed to be in so that whatever experiences we have had in the past should not interrupt the communication with others. So in the same way, Ben believed that our childhood experiences, particularly how we are parented, affect the developmental formation of our three ego states. That is the parent state, the adult state, and the child state. This can then unconsciously cause us to replay the same attitudes and the behaviors that our parents had towards us to someone else during a conversation. Let's say you have had a bad experience. You had a parent who was so harsh on you, who was so controlling. So whenever we are communicating with other people, sometimes we become that parent of controlling the conversation. Or if we were raised with a nurturing parent, whenever we are communicating with people, we give them time to express themselves, and then we give out our idea. So based on our past experience or the way we have been nurtured in the past will influence the conversation or to respond to communication and interaction with others. So Eric Ben proposed that dysfunctional behavior is the result of self-limiting decisions made in childhood in the interest of survival. Let's say as we were growing up, we used to defend ourselves whenever we have done something wrong. When we are growing up, we'll keep on doing that. So we become someone who controls more when we are conversing with others. So such decisions culminate in what Ben called the life script, the precocious life plan that governs the way life is lived out. So we have our own life script. That is, it can be nurturing, like we give others some space to give out their views, or we can have that life script whereby we always dominate during conversation. So changing the life script is the aim of transaction analysis. We are trying to help someone to understand that even though you had this past, but you can learn some new ways of communicating with other people. Your past experience should not influence how you converse with others during conversation. So the whole essence of transaction analysis is to help someone to change that life script that can interrupt during communication. So replacing variant organizational or society scripting with the cooperative non-variant behavior is the aim of this transactional analysis. So here with me are a brief description of what these ego states are all about. So the transaction analysis believes that we have three different states, as I've already said. These different states or ways of being during interaction. So we have the child ego state, the parent ego state, and the state of adult. So this parent ego state we can say it's a nurturing or a critical state. So you can have a nurturing parent that you look up to and you learn from them, or you can have a critical parent who is harsh. You also learn from them that whenever you have done something wrong, how do you respond? I mean, if someone has done to you, have done something wrong to you, how do you respond to that? If you had a nurturing parent, you react positively to the person, or you react as a nurturing parent. But if you are raised by a critical parent, you always control. So instead of responding positively, you respond negatively. And in the adult state, we are talking of grown up. Every time you respond in an adult way, in an accommodating way. While in the child state, you are less aware of what is going on. You don't know what to do. And then you are applying your past experiences. Let's say when you are a child, someone maybe did something wrong to you. How did you respond then? So you apply that. The way you responded, then you apply in your current state. If someone has done me wrong, then I have to react this way. So you can be vulnerable, or you can be creative. You can create fun out of what is happening to you. We'll start by looking at the child state. So in the child ego state, feelings and behaviors are replayed from childhood experiences that we are experiencing in the present. The example which I gave you, that in the past someone did you wrong, and then you start applying. You are replaying what you did in your childhood. So whatever you did that time, you replay it, because you don't know. You are a confused person. As they said, you are less self-aware of what to do when someone has done you wrong. So the child ego state is made up of 3 parts: the natural, curious, and the adaptive child. The natural child ego state has little self-awareness and greater naivety. So it's like you don't know what you are supposed to do. You are not sure of what to do, or you are not sure of how to communicate with others. If someone has sent you a message, you are not sure whether the message is a formal message or it's a serious message and the like. So you just respond it anyhow. The curious child part is adventurous and not afraid of trying something new. So when you are communicating with others, you always make fun out of it. You are trying to enjoy the conversation. So you bring in something creative as you are communicating with other people. That's a curious child. And then we have the adaptive part. Reacts to the energy around them and tends to exchange behaviors to fit in with the crowd, or alternatively, strongly rebels against authority. So in this state, you are trying to understand the people around you. What are they saying? And you are trying to respond based on how you understand yourself, on how best you can respond to that. You are not sure of what to do, but you are trying to act, to respond just because someone has communicated to you. So it's an adaptive part. You are trying to adapt to the environment, to fit in the conversation. So sometimes you can respond in a positive way, or you can respond in a negative way. That's why they are saying you can fit in with the crowd, or alternatively strongly rebels against the authority. Like you don't know what to respond. You are just responding for the sake of responding because you are in a child state. You know, a child can just act for the sake of just responding to the communication. So sometimes when we are conversing with others, we are not sure of what to say. But for the sake of conversation, we just find ourselves responding to something. And sometimes we respond in a negative way, or we respond in a positive way. And then we have the parent state. The parent ego state can be described in two parts: the nurturing parent or the controlling parent. A nurturing parent typically works from a place of concern and offers advice and unconditional love. Let's say you have done something wrong, and then your parents, when they are responding to you, they are responding positively. Let's say they are just advising you, next time we don't do that. This is the way you are supposed to do. Let's say maybe you blocked a glass. They would say next time handle it carefully because this is glass. It breaks when you throw it. So it's a nurturing parent. So as you grow up, knowing that whenever someone has maybe send a certain message to you, which is harsh, you are not supposed to respond it in a harsh way. You are supposed to respond it in a nurturing way so that there shouldn't be conflict between you two. In a unconditional way, by providing like maybe advice to the person, or in such a way that he could not hurt the other person. So each transaction from the nurturing parent aims to create a safe environment for growth and development. Okay, so the aim of this nurturing parents is to create a safe environment for growth and development, so that when the person is growing up, they should learn to communicate with other people in a nurturing way, so that they should learn to avoid conflicts with other people. So the other side of the coin is the controlling or critical parent. This is the side which tends to try and dominate and is judgmental and feels that their way is best. The same example I gave you, a child has done something wrong, has broken a glass. A controlling or critical parent will scold the child. They will call all sorts of names to the child. They will say whatever they want to say. They feel like whatever they are doing to the child is the best way. If someone has done you wrong, you can say whatever you want to say to them, just to embarrass them. That is a critical parent. It also happens when we are conversing with other people in a workplace. Someone has done something wrong. Instead of responding in a positive way so that you avoid conflict, because you have grown up knowing that if someone has done you wrong, we need to respond in a harsh way. You will respond in a harsh way. So the critical parent always dominate, is judgmental, doesn't understand that someone can do something wrong, and therefore we do not have to respond in a negative way. Rather, we are supposed to respond in a positive way. So reactions to the critical parents tend to be submission or adaptive to their way of reparation. So every time when you are conversing with others, you always dominate in a conversation, always trying to intimidate others. Instead of reacting or giving others some space to say their views, you are always on top to say your views. So such is a controlling or a critical parent. And then we have the adult state. The adult ego state can be seen as the grown-up state. You know how to respond to someone, or you know how to respond in a conversation to make it an effective communication. The adult state is about clear here and now responses. You understand what is going on in the conversation, and you respond in a positive way according to what is going on in that particular time. We are able to see people as they are rather than what we project onto them. We do not have expectations from people when we are conversing with them. If you are communicating and you find out someone has said something that has maybe touched your heart or it hurts you, you don't respond in a negative. You understand why did the person say that? Why is he saying such words? So you try to understand why the person is in that state. Why is he saying those words? This adult state, we can be spontaneous and we can be intimate. You try to understand what people are in, the level, the state that they are in. So we can ask for direct information and are able to deal with things without being unhealthily influenced by our past. Let's say in the past, someone also said the same word to you, and you remember that maybe you acted harshly and you have learned from it that maybe brought some conflict. So when you are in adult state, you try to understand that in this situation, should I act harshly? Will it cause conflict, or will it cause anything, or will it interrupt our communication? So you try to understand it. You can recall from your past and see maybe a similar situation happen. How did you react? Did it maybe enhance effective communication? If it did, then you can respond in that way. But if it did not, you try to respond in a different way so that the communication is not interrupted. So people in the adult ego state don't try to control or overreact towards others. You don't control the conversation and you don't overreact towards other people. You try to understand the situation, what is causing someone to say these ways, to communicate in this way. So you try to understand them. We try to understand the situation that they are in. So they are comfortable with themselves, and this is for many of us, our ideal self. So most of us always act in adult state, but sometimes we are overpowered by the critical parent state or the child state. So for us to understand better how transaction analysis is applied in a workplace, we can look at these three types of transaction. So we have a complementary transaction, we have arterial transaction, and a closed transaction. So looking at how this work will help us explain how communication issues or personality crashes arise. So starting with the complementary transactions, this is one in which the person responds in the same ego state as they were approached in. If the person has approached you or is communicating you in a child state, you also respond in a child state. If the person is communicating you in a parent state, whether it's a critical parent state or a nurturing parent state, you respond in the same way. So a complementary transaction takes place when the lines between the senders and receivers' ego states are parallel. You don't understand each other. You're just communicating. Just because someone has said a hash word, you are also responding to that hash word. So means that this means that whatever ego state the sender is in, their communication reaches or impacts the desired ego state of the receiver. So you just respond based on how the other person has communicated to you. So the receiver responds in a way that complements the sender's ego state instead of challenging it. So when it's a bad state, instead of challenging it, you reacting in a best way, you also do the same. That's a complementary transaction. So when this complementary transaction happens from adult to adult state, it is thought to be the best type of communication, as it is respectful and reduces conflict. So if a person is communicating in adult state, you also communicate in adult state. So therefore, there will be an effective communication. When a complementary transaction happens from the ego state of a child and is received and responded to from the ego state of a nurturing parent, it will also help to reduce conflict, because you understand that he or she is responding from a child state. Therefore, I need to be a nurturing parent, or I need to be a controlling parent. Somehow it can reduce conflicts and create a degree of harmony in the interaction. However, you can see why this will not necessarily be the best form of interaction, because if someone is reacting, communicating to you in a child state, and you react maybe in a critical parent, you dominate. That is, you dominate. Instead of nurturing them, like advising them that what they are communicating is not good, the way they are communicating is not good. So you are controlling, trying to embarrass the person. Yes, you are trying to make them know that that is not good, but if you are in a critical parent, when you are in a critical parent state, you try to dominate, to embarrass the person. So someone acting in a child and the other person responding in a parent state sometimes does not bring sanity in the way we interact with others. And then the other type is closed transactions. So closed transactions are when the ego states of two people interacting do not match, when the ego state of the sender does not reach the desired or intended ego state of the respondent. That is to say, they respond to the sender in a conflicting way, which can be seen by the crossed over arrows in the image of the right. Let me show you the image. So it is showing that they have crossed. They are not understanding each other. So they respond to the sender in a conflicting way, because you do not understand the type of the message that the person is communicating to you. So in a crossed transaction, it requires one or both of the people in the interaction to shift ego states for communication to be able to carry on. So if you understand that the other person is communicating in a child state, the receiver is not supposed to respond in the child state as well. One of you is supposed to change the state so that communication can carry on. If someone has said a bad word, you are supposed to react in such a way that it does not interrupt the communication. An example of this would be if a customer comes to you complaining of their recent purchase using very belittling language, jumping to the conclusion that this mistake had been made purposely and telling you that they were going to report you. They are trying to arouse the child state in you. So because you understand that they want you to respond in a negative way, you are supposed to change to another ego state. So they are speaking to you from their critical parent state, like controlling. They are saying they are going to report to you. They have the authority to report to you. So they are intending you to then reply from your child's ego state, such as being very apologetic, begging them not to report you, and responding with anything that strengthens their authority in the situation. However, if you respond from your adult or parent state instead, this would cause a closed transaction. And someone would have to shift their ego states to accommodate for this so the communication can continue. So you don't have to react in your child state. If they are saying that they are going to report to you, converse with them or try to convince them to understand why the situation happens that way. So you don't have to respond to them like, you can report me, I don't care. So in that state, you keep on exchanging words that are not conducive for the conversation or for the communication to take place. So transaction analysis believes that if you respond from your adult state, it is more likely that the sender can then also come back into their adult state to accommodate for the discrepancy in an complementary ego state. So resulting in transactions from adult to adult, which is healthier and more respectful. If sometimes you are not responding to them, we are just looking at them, or you are trying to convince them to understand, they would also change their state. Because, for instance, another example I can give you is if someone is slapping you and you are not slapping back, they will stop because they know that you are not responding to them. So what you are supposed to do is maybe not to react in the state in which they are in, or trying to react in an adult way to convince them to understand the situation. You will find that they will also change and follow the state that you are in. So that helps to avoid interruptions in the communication process. And then the other type of transaction is arterial transaction. The arterial transaction are when the sender outwardly gives a message to the receiver that it sounds like it's coming from his adult state to the receiver's adult state. This is a healthy conversation. So you understand that this message that he or she is sending to me is a formal message. Therefore, I need to respond in a formal way. However, there is actually an underlying subtle message given from the sender's child or parent state to be received by the responder's child or parent state. That is to say, two messages are sent at the same time. So this can be done cautiously or unconsciously by the sender. So the message could be a good message, or it could be somehow a message that is trying to maybe to belittle someone, or a message that is trying to control someone. But if the sender understands that this message is trying to maybe give me some it has maybe an intention behind. So you try to understand why the message is coming that way, and then you respond it in such a way that will create sanity. And then the sender will also understand that the message, the way you have received it positively. Therefore, the conversation will continue being in a positive way. So this type of interaction is highlighted in the image that I showed you. It showed the dashed line. An example of this would be if someone's teacher or friend said, you can choose to study subjects that lead to becoming a doctor. However, it is very hard and it requires lots of intelligence. You see, the message is good, but it is trying to communicate something that even though you can adopt this, but you should expect such. Okay. So the use of language suggests adult to adult respectful communication. You are somehow, the message can be seen as dominating, or it's trying to directing someone to choose something. But even though you are dominating, you are giving them a chance whether to take it or not to take it. However, it is very hard and it requires lots of intelligence. It means you need to put in your effort, even though you are adopting to this suggestion or what, but you also need to give out your efforts in order to achieve what you want to achieve. So they have said it with the intent of triggering the receiver's rebellious child ego state. So they might think, I will show you that I'm also very intelligent. So the person will respond in such a way that will tell the sender that I know how to do this. So they might think, I will show you that I'm also very intelligent and I can become a doctor, and then study harder. So instead of responding in such a way that it will intimidate the sender, you will say, okay, I will take it up. I will try my best. So you are acting in an adult state, trying to create an environment for an effective communication. So the three different transactions in communication are not defined by verbal language and words alone. It also incorporates tone of voice, body language, and facial expression. So when we are communicating, it's not only about the words that we use, but the way we are presenting the non-verbal language we are showing, the tone of voice. Are we saying it in a harsh way, or we are saying it in such a tone that someone will understand that you are advising them, or you are trying to communicate in a nurturing way? Oh, how is your facial expression to that? So people respond based on not only the words that you're communicating, but also the body language, the way you are presenting yourself, the tone of voice, as well as the facial expression. So these ego states, or the way we communicate, the way we exchange transaction, has an impact in a workplace. when we have colleagues, when we are communicating with our colleagues in a workplace, we may sometimes act in a child state based on our past experiences that maybe you are trying to apply what you have learned from your parents or an adult figure. And sometimes you can react in a parent state whereby you try to dominate. Let's say you are in a team or you are in a meeting. You are the only one just giving the points instead of maybe giving chances to others to give out their ideas. You can also react in an adult state whereby you know that maybe a colleague has done something wrong or has communicated to you in a wrong way. You try to bring sanity in it, trying to advise the colleague, not embarrass the colleague in front of others. So this transaction analysis is supposed to be known to every person, or is supposed to be known by all of us, maybe in a workplace. So we are supposed to undergo a training on a transaction analysis so that we can be able to understand the ego state that others are communicating. When we are conversing with the other people, we need to understand the state that they are in and how we are supposed to react to that. So the healthiness of an interaction in transaction analysis is about people understanding how to adapt and respond. So we are supposed to undergo a training on a transaction analysis to understand how to adapt and to respond to a message that our colleague is sending to us. It's also important to be able to switch between states as the situation demands. So you should be able to swallow your pride. You know that you are wrong. You are supposed to change your state and be in such a state that will enhance effective communication. A good leader, for example, might predominantly interact in an adult mode, but can adopt a parent role for providing guidance or a child role to encourage creativity and openness. So as a team leader, you can understand, let's say your team members are communicating maybe in a certain state. Sometimes you can change your level to show that you are in authority to be a nurturing parent, not really a critical parent, but to be in a nurturing, to show authority that you are trying to communicate something that they need to take it as more important. Or if you are giving them a task, you communicate to them that this is more important and they need to put their effort in order to complete the task. Or you can act in a child state whereby you try to make it more creative, more enjoying. People should not work in a panic way that the boss has said we are supposed to do this, and whether we like it or not, we have to do it. And instead of doing it in a right way because they are scared that you're going maybe to scold them and they don't do it properly. So you are supposed to react to them or communicate to them in a child state so that it is more fun or it is more creative. So here is how transaction analysis can improve your team's interaction and enhance their contribution. The first thing is enhanced communication. So by understanding and identifying ego states, your team can aim for adult interactions that are most likely to result in rational, constructive, and dialogue. If the team members understand the ego state that they are communicating, they would always go for adult to adult interaction, which is more effective in communicating with the others. Another one is conflict resolution. So transaction analysis provides a framework for understanding the underlying dynamics in conflict. recognizing when conversations are misaligned, allows your team members to shift their approach and de-escalate potential conflicts. So if you understand that this communication can result in conflict or misunderstanding, you try to change your state level or convincing others to be in a state so that you don't reach to a conflict or trying to resolve some misunderstanding between two people who are communicating. So when we understand the state that the other person is in, we can resolve some conflicts that may come in due to interruptions in communication. Another one is leadership development. As a leader, you can use transactional analysis to adjust your management style, moving between nurturing and authoritative as the situation demands. So the example I gave you that in a team, you are trying to communicate a task that they are supposed to do. So if the team, the task demands their effort, you act in an authoritative way so that they take it serious. Or you try to react in a nurturing way so that they understand the task and do it effectively. They should understand that it is important, but they can do it in such a way that they don't make mistakes. They should do it in such a pace that they can do it very well. So by being flexible, you can support your team members in the most effective way and improve your team's overall contribution. So you need to move between the states so that you can be able to communicate to your team members. The other one is empathy and understanding. So understanding where your colleagues are coming from in terms of their ego states can foster greater empathy, patience, and more supportive relationships. So you need to understand that your team members are coming from different backgrounds and the way they communicate is also different. So if you understand their ego state, you can empathize with them, you can understand them. Not when a person has done a mistake, you just come to a conclusion. You need to understand, why are they communicating in such a way? Why is this person behaving this way? So you understand, transactional analysis helps you to understand the state in which they are in. Is it because of their background, their family background, or is it because of their work experience? Maybe they're not used to such kind of work. So it helps you understand the state in which your team members are in. And also you empathize with them so that you create an environment which is conducive for communication. The last one is personal development. Transaction analysis is not just about understanding others. It's also a tool for self-awareness. You try to understand who you really are. You try to understand the state in which you are so that when you are communicating with others, the communication itself should not be interrupted or should not hurt the other person because of the choice of words you are using. So being able to understand and reflect on your own principal ego state can lead to personal growth and improved professional contribution. So if you are aware of the state, the different ego states, you can always choose to communicate in a state whereby it does not cause any interruption in the communication, or it does not cause any harm to the person that is responding to your communication. So this is how transaction analysis is important in a workplace. So this is the end of my presentation. Thanks so much for your listening.
Yeah, Thank you so much for your presentation, Miss. And for our participants, if you have any question for the speaker, please add them to the chat or you can raise your hand. Yeah, good morning, Miss. You can hear my voice. Yeah, good morning, Miss. You can hear my voice.
Good morning, Miss. Orang Bu.
I don't see any question in the comment box.
Hello, you can check on the chat. There is a question
Okay, so the question states, how
from,
does transaction analysis help improve communication and conflict resolution in the workplace? So transaction analysis help improve communication and help to improve, help to in conflict resolution in such a way that if you understand the state in which your colleague is communicating, you can be able to respond in such a way that does not interrupt the communication. So let's say your colleague is communicating in a child state whereby they are not sure of what they are communicating. They are just communicating maybe something that will cause some interruption in the communication. So you as a receiver of the message, you try to understand why is the person communicating in such a state. So if you know that that will cause the conflict or that will cause the disruption in the communication, you try to communicate back in a state whereby it will help the other person understand that they did not communicate very well. The choice of words they are using is not good and it interrupts the communication. Or you can act in such a way that is authoritative to dominate, so that the other person understands that that's not the best way to communicate, and you are trying to help them understand the way they are supposed to communicate. So it's either the sender or the receiver, both of them, they are supposed to understand the state that each one is in, so that the communication can be effectively, and also it can avoid conflicts when communicating in a workplace. And also transactional analysis also helps us to understand the background from which others are coming from, because others may communicate because of their experiences or their background. So transactional analysis helps us to understand the state that the person that we're communicating with is in. The other question states, could you explain how the different ego states in the transactional analysis, that is the parent, adult, and child, impact interactions between employees and managers? Okay, let's start with the parent. The parent, we have a critical parent and a nurturing parent. Let's say you are a manager and you are trying to communicate something to your employees. If you act in a nurturing way, the communication, the message that you are communicating to your colleagues, they will take it positively, because you are a nurturing, you are that good boss, because you are trying to communicate in a nurturing way, in such a way that they will understand how to do the task, and they understand that the way you are communicating is also accommodating, is trying to give you some space to complete the task. But when you are communicating in a critical parent state, you are authoritative. So you are trying to communicate to them to complete the task as soon as possible, and they are sometimes scared when they are doing the task. They know that if you make a mistake, the boss will, there will be consequences. The boss will do something, will react in a certain way. Therefore, that also interrupts the communication or the way people perform in a workplace. When we take the child state, if the manager is reacting or is communicating in a child state, you may find that when they are giving the communication about a certain task, they will make it more creative, maybe giving opportunities for the employees to give out their ideas, to be more creative. You can be given a task, you need to complete this, but do it in your own way, the way you understand it. So you can be more creative, you can be innovative, even though you are supposed to complete this, but you can do it in your own way. So the employees, they enjoy doing that because they are putting in their own effort, they are giving out their ideas on how best they can communicate to it. I mean, they can do the task. And also sometimes when you are in a child state and then you are trying to communicate, they will also take it very easy. Sometimes they will not complete it in anticipated time. You will find that they will take it easy. So sometimes when you're communicating as a manager, when you're communicating in a child state, it gives opportunity for the employees to do their own work instead of concentrating on the task. While when you are communicating in adult state, you are also accommodating. You are communicating in an authoritative way so that they understand that the task that they are doing is very important. Therefore, they are supposed to complete it in anticipated time, or in such a way that is that requires their best effort. So that's how different ego states in the transaction analysis can impact interactions between employees and managers.
Okay, thank you for answering, Miss. Yeah, thank you for answering. I think it's very clear answer from Professora. Yeah, before I close this session, for our participant, please open your camera. I will take a picture on the corner of 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. Finally, we come to the end of visit lecture today. We would like to thank you for Miss Catherine for the wonderful information and sharing your knowledge. We hope this information will be beneficial for our participants. At least we hope to have more collaboration in the future with them ESTJ, the Vocational University Malawi. The visiting lecture for today, and we have to say so thank you and for listening. Goodbye.